If there's one thing that Mercedes fans have learned this season, it's this: George Russell is the duct tape holding the silver arrows together. While most people were focused on Red Bull's meltdown and Ferrari's latest strategy disaster, Russell slipped through the chaos, climbed onto the podium, and somehow managed to do it without ever really being on camera. That's not a joke. The man is becoming a master at pulling off top-tier results while the broadcast barely notices. And Hungary was the perfect example. While cameras were stuck watching Verstappen struggle behind Liam Lawson, Russell just got it done. Clean, quiet, surgical. But here's the thing. That third place in Hungary wasn't just another lucky podium. It was a flashing red warning sign for Mercedes. Because under that result was a story about a team that's been sabotaging itself for nearly half a season. A team that made a bold engineering move, stuck with it far too long, and only just now admitted defeat. Back in Imola, Mercedes introduced a brand new rear suspension setup. It was supposed to fix a long-standing problem with the rear end stability under load changes. The idea? More anti-lift, better control, more downforce, better grip. On paper, it was genius. In reality, it was a disaster. The car suddenly became unpredictable, the rear end would swing, the tires would degrade faster, and the lap times went down the toilet. And the worst part? They didn't pull the plug fast enough. Russell's performance took a nosedive after that upgrade. Before Imola, he was on fire. 4 podiums in 6 races. After the upgrade, just 1 podium in 7 races. That kind of fall off isn't random. That's not bad luck. That's your own factory team handing you a lemon and asking you to win a race with it. The team knew something was wrong. They tried mixing and matching the old and new parts, hoping to isolate the issue. But the real head scratcher is Montreal. That race where George clinched a win happened with the faulty rear suspension still in the car. So the engineers thought, hey, maybe it's not that bad after all, and they kept it. But that win was a fluke. It had more to do with the track layout and cool weather than the suspension actually working. It's like putting a band-aid on a broken leg and thinking the limp is fixed because you managed to jog one day. You're not fine, you're just lucky. Fast forward to Hungary, and Mercedes finally took the damn thing off the car. And guess what? Instant difference. Russell felt like he was driving a completely new machine. Antonelli, who's had a brutal rookie season so far, actually managed to get back into the points. It was like the fog lifted. You'd think Mercedes would be celebrating, but Toto Wolff? He was livid. And honestly, who can blame him? In the cost cap era, every bad upgrade is like burning a pile of cash you can't replace. Before the cap, Mercedes had the luxury of testing multiple upgrade paths simultaneously. Now, you pick one, you hope it works, and if it doesn't, that's your season swirling down the drain. And while all this was happening, while the team was fumbling the development ball, George Russell was just surviving, quietly stacking podiums, dragging the car up the standings, and proving he's worth every penny, even if his own team forgot that for a minute. George Russell's podium in Hungary wasn't just a redemption arc for Mercedes, it was a statement. And it came at a time when internal tension at Brackley was at its peak. Behind the scenes, Toto Wolff had spent months chasing Max Verstappen in hopes of pulling off the biggest driver move in years. The rumor mill was working overtime. Talks of secret meetings, contract drafts, and massive offers were everywhere. But Max shut it all down with a single announcement: he's staying with Red Bull. Not only did that end Wolff's dream, it embarrassed the team publicly. And that left George in a strange spot. Imagine being the guy who's been loyal, who's been grinding through poor setups, carrying the brand while your team boss openly flirts with your biggest rival. Now that Verstappen's off the market, suddenly Mercedes wants Russell back like nothing ever happened. But the dynamic has shifted. George isn't desperate. His stock is high. He's outperformed expectations, stayed composed, and has been delivering results with a car that frankly didn't deserve them for half the season. Plus, his contract is up at the end of the year, so now the leverage, it's all in his hands. And make no mistake, he's got options. According to reports from Sky Sports, multiple teams have expressed expressed serious interest in signing him for 2026. Aston Martin, with their ever-growing ambitions and deep Lawrence Stroll pockets, is watching. Cadillac, prepping for their full-time F1 entry, hasn't locked in any drivers yet. And even Red Bull, for all their drama and depth, haven't ruled anything out. Mercedes might still be the best car Russell can get for now, but that doesn't mean he has to accept whatever scraps they throw at him. Word is, the team only offered a one-year extension. That's not going to fly. George wants security. 2 years minimum, possibly 3. He's done playing second fiddle in contract talks, and this sudden shift in power dynamics is clearly making Wolff uncomfortable. He spent half the year with eyes on Verstappen and only now seems to realize what he's risking with George. If Russell walks, who's he got? Antonelli is promising, but raw. And beyond that, what? Try to lure Mick Schumacher back from Alpine's junior program? Maybe call up Valtteri Bottas for round 2? The pool is thin. Then there's the financial angle. Before the cost cap, Mercedes could absorb mistakes. They had the largest budget in the sport, $500 million at their peak. Now, every dollar counts. One bad part, one failed upgrade, one miscalculated gamble. Suddenly, you're not just behind in development, you're stuck there for months. And this isn't just theory, it's already happened. The rear suspension debacle cost Mercedes not just pace, but a huge portion of their upgrade budget. They gambled, lost, and now they've got no more chips to play with. Meanwhile, teams like McLaren and Ferrari have made sharper, more targeted moves. Red Bull, despite their chaos, are still dangerous. Mercedes can't afford another misstep. What they can afford even more is to lose their lead driver because of ego and indecision. George Russell isn't some rookie hoping for a shot anymore. He's a proven race winner, a podium regular, the kind of driver who can dig a top 3 result out of a car that barely deserves top 5. And he's no longer willing to be treated like a backup plan. Toto's got a decision to make. Either lock George down now with the respect and contract he's earned, or risk watching him walk straight into a rival garage, smile on his face, engine on fire. The tension at Mercedes isn't just about contracts and car setups anymore, it's about identity. For over a decade, the team was the gold standard, brains, budget, brilliance. They didn't just win, they dominated. But that era is gone, and this current version of Mercedes feels like a team caught between two worlds, still carrying the expectations of their glory days, but now forced to navigate a future where resources are limited, driver loyalty is fragile, and every wrong step can cost a season. George Russell understands that better than anyone. That's why he's playing it smart. Publicly, he's calm and measured, saying things like, "We'll sit down when the time is right," or "I want a relationship that fits both sides." But under that polished exterior, there's a man who knows he's been undervalued. This isn't about vengeance, it's about leverage. For 12 months, Russell has waited while Toto Wolff pursued another driver, left key decisions hanging, and banked on the hope that Russell would just sign whatever was put in front of him. But now, the tables have turned, and George knows it. He's not going to sign just to be safe. He wants guarantees. He wants commitment, and more importantly, he wants to know that the team he's sacrificing his prime years for actually sees him as the centerpiece, not the placeholder. Because that's how he's been treated. And as for Antonelli, he's got his own story. The rookie was thrown into the fire, given a car that was barely drivable, and told to prove himself on the biggest stage in motorsport. It wasn't just unfair, it was borderline cruel. But somehow the kid held on. He battled through the worst of it and found his rhythm the moment the team ditched the flawed suspension. 10th place in Hungary might not sound impressive, but when you understand the context, it's huge. Andrea's season was derailed by a decision he had no say in. He was robbed of confidence, robbed of performance, and yet never cracked publicly. That says a lot about the kid. But it also says a lot about the risk Mercedes took. They're grooming a future champion, but they nearly ruined him before he got going. Toto Wolff knows the clock is ticking. His team can't afford another half season of technical missteps, and they definitely can't afford another PR nightmare. With both drivers out of contract at the end of the year, Mercedes is on the edge of chaos. Lose Russell, mishandle Antonelli, and suddenly you're a midfield team with a great past and no future. And fans are starting to notice. The support that once seemed automatic now comes with hesitation. People are asking hard questions. What happened to Mercedes's bulletproof development pipeline? Where's the accountability when upgrades fail? Why did they waste half a season before fixing something that clearly didn't work? It's not just about Hungary, it's about the bigger picture. Russell's performance there, snatching a podium while chaos unfolded around him, was a reminder of what elite drivers do. They don't just win when the car is perfect, they win when the car is barely hanging on. That kind of consistency is rare. That kind of poise is priceless. Whether Wolff sees it that way is still unclear, but one thing is certain, Mercedes doesn't have the luxury of taking Russell for granted anymore. Not in this version of Formula One, not when contracts are weapons, not when every team is gunning for redemption, and not when one of the most composed, capable drivers on the grid might just decide he's had enough.